Hey, what's going on, y'all? About to have a discussion with the right wing angel. How do I? There we go. Yo, what up, Angel?
Whoa, what's going on, my brother?
Man, nothing. Chilling. Trying to get this questioning started. Make sure everything is right. So,
Yeah, you,
you
you got
know,
some good ones for me?
oh, I got some good ones for you, man. Trust me. I've been seeing you. I've been seeing you posting a lot, man. So yeah, I definitely got a lot of questions for you right now. This would be a good time to make sure that the audience understands that this is not my understanding of who you are. I'm just questioning you based on some of the hate comments and the ideas that people think that the ideas that people give off that you are quote unquote Uncle Tom. So I'm going to ask you
Mm-hmm.
questions based on that, and I want you to be able to give your understanding of how you feel about those comments and what other people think of you, and how you feel about what other people think of you as well. So I want to give you the
Right.
chance to introduce yourself, and then we'll go straight into the questioning.
All right. Before I introduce myself, I want to tell the audience, everybody watching, please share this video out. It's going to be a great discussion. And for my conservative people that are watching, these could be answers to questions that you might be asked on your platform or from your family and friends. So this can give you some valuable information and also some valuable ammunition to combat any hate that you might get. But my name is Oliver Mack. I go by Right Winged Angel on my social media platforms. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm a conservative commentator. I like to comment about what's going on in our country right now, about what's going on in our culture right now. Some people may think that I'm not a fan of black people, but I actually want to help black people, and a lot of what I do is kind of tailored to that, just trying to wake people up to the lies and deception that the media is putting out there for everyone. And unfortunately, we keep falling for it. So that's my mission. That's me. Appreciate everybody for being here.
Perfect. All right. So with that being said, you already kind of tackled one of the points that I was gonna ask. So I'm just gonna ask it right now. A lot of people have an issue with you because it seems like when you go on your Instagram page, all you post is black people doing other things to white people or other things to other races. But specifically, they would say that your channel is geared towards showing that black people also do things to white people. And I
Mm-hmm.
know why you do it, but I'm going to let you explain it yourself.
Yeah, so there are so many other platforms out there, and a lot of them will be quick to say, look at what this white person did to these black peoples, to these black person. And they're doing that to push this racism is running rampant in America, and black people should live in fear of white people because of it. And I think that's really detrimental to us because I believe it stops us from coming together as black and white to try to overthrow and to try to conquer our real enemy, which is pretty much the government that we have right now. A lot of our government officials, they're against us and they're using the media to put us against each other because, like they said, united we stand, divided we fall. So they're trying to divide us on purpose, and we're just continuing to fall for it. So when I put out a story about a black person doing something to a white person, I'm basically showing the other side and trying to dispel the narrative that all white people are evil and they're out to get the innocent black person who never does anything wrong. And I'm just showing people that's not true. We have instances of black people doing this to white people, and I'm just trying to get people to see that because if someone goes to my Instagram page and all they know is left wing media. All they know is CNN. All they know is MSNBC. and they're being fed this narrative about white people and how evil they are. Sorry about that. About white people and how evil they are and how they're out to get black people, and black people are innocent and never do anything wrong. Once they come to my Instagram page, they'll see, wait a minute, I didn't know that was actually happening. I didn't know black people were doing this to white people. So what's going on? Why aren't these stories showing up on CNN? Why aren't these stories showing up on MSNBC? And then it
Right.
kind of starts to get the wheels turning. Well, maybe they're
And what would
covering
you
this up
say?
on purpose.
Right. And what would you say to the people that, because I know you get this as well, what would you say to the people that say, well, why do we need that? We don't care about what black people are doing to white people because white people are doing it more to black people. The majority of what's happening to black people are being done by white people. So I know you get that before. So what is your response to those people?
Well, I would just tell them that's not true. You have to look at the statistical data, and you'll see that um, in terms of murder, more black people kill white people than white people kill black people. But the media will never tell you that because they want to divide us. They want black people to live in fear so they can push this narrative. But the statistics do not show that white people kill black people or harm black people at a higher rate than the other way around. So that's what I'm trying to get people to see with that.
Okay, that's a good one. And so I've seen you have conversations about racism.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times I've seen people say that black people can't be racist. Why are you spewing this hatred? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to say to the people that want to tell you they can't be racist simply because they're black?
Well, I think that's ridiculous because anybody can be racist. The left tries to change the definition of racism to include, well, the only people who can be racist are people with power, and that's not true. The literal definition of racism is prejudice against someone or treating someone differently based on race. Black people can do that to white people. Black people can do that to Asian people. Asian people can do that to white people. Asian people can do that to black people. Hispanics can do it to black people. Black people can do it to Hispanics. It doesn't matter what the race is. If you choose to treat someone differently or disparage someone based on their race, that is the clear definition of racism. But it just bothers me that people will push this lie that black people can't be racist, and it's really causing a lot of strife within the world, within our country, because you have white people who get chastised and criticized whenever they say anything negative about black people or any other race. But if black people say negative things about white people, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool because they can't be racist. I was watching this video, and it was supposed to be a funny video. I laughed a little bit, but I didn't laugh as much as I probably would have laughed 10 years ago. But this guy, he was critiquing a video, a TikTok video, and this white lady, she was making mac and cheese, and he automatically assumed that the white lady would mess up the mac and cheese because she's white. And then when she started cooking more and he started saying, okay, well, she's doing a good job, she must have a black man at home, right? So the only reason she's able to cook is if she got a black man. And it turns out she did have a black man that she was feeding. So it's like, dude, that's racism. Like if a white person would have did that about a black person, oh, he don't know how to shoot guns because he's black. He shoot his guns like this because he's black. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah,
would have
all
been
hell
seen as
gonna break
racist.
loose.
Right.
Yeah, all hell gonna break loose, man. Now I feel you on that. All right, and then one more side topic off of that. It's kind of like a subtopic out of that question. What do you say to the people that all white people are racist? I know you've seen that. I know you've seen the viral video. I know you've been on Clubhouse with me, and people are saying all white people are racist. Now, let me give you an example of why they think that. simply because they abide by the system that oppresses Black people. Now, don't talk about black oppression yet. That's the second question. But what do you have to say about that?
Well, to say, it goes back to what I said earlier. To say that any group of people, any race is this way, like you're stereotyping a race. And when you say all white people are automatically racist, guess what? That's racism, right? If a white person would have come out and say all Black people hate white people, right? That white person would be canceled. But that's pretty much the same thing that Black people say all the time. When they say all white people are racist, or they assume that anytime a Black person is in a confrontation with a white person, whatever the white person does to the Black person is only because that person is Black. It's not because of the confrontation. Has nothing, like, they don't add any context to it. It's all about race when it's a white person and a Black person. But we can't do that. Like, that's literal racism, like I talked about earlier. So we need to judge people based on their actions, not on their race.
Agreed. All right. And so now the next topic, we already kind of ran into it a little bit. Black oppression. You say it doesn't exist. Now, that's not to say that it didn't exist, but now you're saying in 2022 it does not exist.
Right.
I've seen you get a lot of pushback on this. I've seen people argue and yell at you about this on the app. And I want to be able to get your opinion once again on that for the audience and for the people that are listening. You say Black oppression does not exist. Everybody's equal. Everybody has the same opportunity. Why do you say that?
Well, because the facts bear it out. Like, I'm a facts-based person, and if you look at what's actually going on in this country, a lot of the conditions that you see Black people in is based on personal choice, personal decision. There's nobody holding anybody back. Like, that's what oppression is. If you have laws in place that will stop someone from doing something based on their race, then you can say, yeah, these people are oppressed. But if that's not the case, if there's laws that are actually against doing that to people, right? There are laws that are against racism. There are laws that hold people accountable for doing stuff like that. So how could you say that there is oppression when we have laws that are actively fighting against that? Anything a white person does against a Black person, you see it. They can lose their job, they can lose their livelihood, they can lose their good reputations just based on interactions with white people. I mean, you've seen the viral videos where a Black person a Black person will get into any confrontation with a white person and they'll start immediately recording. Why? Because they know if they can catch that white person saying anything that's off, then they can automatically claim that white person is racist, or we got a Karen on our hands or something like that. So if we were truly oppressed, none of those videos would ever go viral. None of those videos would actually have anything negative happen to the white person, because in an oppressed state, like people say we're in, everyone would defend the white person, not the Black person. But we do not see that. We see everyone, the majority of people, defending the Black person and chastising and criticizing and belittling the white person. So that's why I say, I mean, there's no oppression today. I know there was oppression in the United States back in the day, in the 60s and the 50s. I know we couldn't do what we wanted to do. We couldn't drink out of the same water fountains. We couldn't vote. A lot of that stuff. That was true oppression. But to say that we're experiencing the same thing today is like a slap in the face of our ancestors, right? It's like shitting on our ancestors' grave. Like, nope, we feel like we're going through the same stuff that y'all went through. And we know we're not. We're not. But we've created this oppression Olympics because Black people benefit off of claiming that there is oppression.
I got that, man. That makes total sense. And so now I'm going to give their rebuttals, okay? Black people are oppressed simply because of the mass incarceration and black people are oppressed because of police shootings. And I've seen you
Mm-hmm.
talk about this, but I want to give your understanding on how you push back on those two questions, because it seems as if in the media, which I would agree, the media is pushing the narrative that, hey, only black people get shot by white cops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only black people get arrested. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So how do you feel about that?
So let's touch on mass incarceration real quick. Um, there was a time, and for me, it's kind of that's a hard one to talk about because I don't think it's going on now at all. I believe that a lot of black people get out of prison or get out of jail that shouldn't be out. They get these low bails. Sometimes they get no bails. Like a lot of our politicians, our DAs are actively trying to get black people out of jail. I mean, we had the First Step Act with Trump, and my brother is a free man right now because of that act. So I just don't see the mass incarceration thing happening today because we have so many opportunities to get black people out. I mean, honestly, I believe if 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 we didn't let some of these people out, we'd probably have less murders and less crime. But jail kind of is a revolving door today. But when we had the crack epidemic, I believe in the 80s, yeah, they were locking a lot of black people up. But some people will say, well, they were putting drugs in the hood, and that's why we were getting locked up. Like the government was trying to get black people locked up by putting the drugs in the hood. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can say that, but it still takes away personal responsibility. Like I don't care what anyone does or what anyone puts in front of me. If I know it's not the right thing to do, I'm not just going to sit up there and just do it just because it's in front of me, just because I have the opportunity. I mean, I have the opportunity every day to do bad stuff, but I don't do it because I know the consequences. And all black people in the 90s, in the 80s, they got locked up because they were selling crack, knew the consequences of their actions, and they did it anyway.
Right, right. And then police shootings was the first point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So police shootings, I mean, if you look at the statistics again, we have more white people who are shot by cops than black people every year, unarmed and even armed. So, and a lot of people will say, well, it's disproportionate. Well, yes, that's true. But when you look at the police interactions, when you look at the police encounters, then it's really not disproportionate because we interact with police a lot. I mean, people on the left and Democrats will say that black
Wait.
neighborhoods.
One
Go
second.
ahead.
You said black people interact with the police more than white people.
No, I was saying like disproportionately, like
Okay.
based
Okay.
on the population. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
not like there's more interactions, but disproportionately based on the population. What I was going to say is a lot of people on the left, Democrats, will say that, you know, black neighborhoods are over policed, right? So, since black neighborhoods are over policed, that's something that they talk about. We need less police in black neighborhoods, they're over policed. So, that means that black people are having a lot of encounters with police. So, when you have a lot of encounters with police and you add in the factor that black people are more likely to resist arrest, then a lot of these things end up happening for that reason, not based on race. Look at all of the Black Lives Matter, like all the police shootings that Black Lives Matter got behind. Not one of them were they able to prove that it was motivated by race. Not one. But we still have this narrative that police or white police are going out there just killing black people because they're black. They don't look at the situation as a whole. They don't look at
Right.
what
Real quick, I
happened.
want to real quick. I want to ask you
Mm-hmm.
something about something that you said, because I know people in the audience probably is hanging on that. You said black people are more likely to resist arrest. Can you elaborate
Mm-hmm.
on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So if you look at arrest records, like black people get arrested for resisting arrest more than white people. So that's something to factor in terms of, you have all these police interactions, and then you have people that may not be as compliant, So when you add those two factors together, it's a recipe for disaster, unfortunately. But it doesn't happen as much as people may think. You know, there was a poll that came out and it said that people on the left think that there are way more police shootings or way more police shootings of black people than there really are. There was a large percentage of people who vote Democrat that are on the left that think that 100 unarmed black people were shot in 2019, I believe. And some think that 1,000 or more were shot in 2019. So you have, I think it was like 30 something percent of people on the left who believe that 1,000 black people were shot by police unarmed. And that's not true. When the
Now I
number
know
is
that's
more
not
like,
true.
yeah,
I
the
know me
number
and
is
you
more
don't
like
agree on
10 to
some points.
20.
Yeah, I know me and you don't agree on some points, but I know that's not true for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
real
okay,
number is like
so
10 to 20.
right, exactly. Okay, and so um the response that you would get from the black people are more prone to resist arrest. Do you think that that needs to result in the death of a black person,
No, no,
as we see it has happened before?
no, absolutely. I don't think anyone deserves to die. See, that's usually the argument that I get from people. It's
Mhm.
basically, well, this person was involved with this police officer and they resisted arrest. They fought the police officer, and the police officer ended up shooting them. Now, if I say, well, if they wouldn't have fought the police officer, then things would have went differently. And then their response will be, well, you think he deserved to die? No, I don't. I don't think anyone deserved to die. But if somebody robbed you, right? Robbed you at gunpoint or not gunpoint, knife point, whatever, and you ended up pulling your gun out and shooting them, if somebody comes back and say, well, he should have never shot him, and I'm like, well, they tried to rob him, and then they'll say, oh, well, did he deserve to die because he robbed him? No, but when you put someone in a situation where they feel like they could lose their life, they feel like it could go sour. You know, people have to think about the position that police officers are in. Like, if I have a gun, right, and you don't, and you fight me, right, what can you do to me if you're able to knock me out? We're going at it, right? I have the gun, you don't. I didn't pull it out, but you know I have it, and you start to fight me. You end up knocking me out. You think I'm gonna kill you? What you gonna do to me? You probably
Right.
take my gun and shoot me, right? Because you don't know what's gonna happen. Because I have the gun. So I think a lot of police officers, they're in that situation where if somebody is able to get the best of them, then they have a weapon there. Because we're talking about unarmed only. We're talking about unarmed. They have a weapon there. If a criminal or suspect is able to knock the police officer out, the suspect can take the police officer's gun and end that police officer's life. So the cop is put in a position where it's their life or his life. And if I'm in the cop's position, I'm always choose my life.
I agree. I agree. One thing that I will say on that is I do think that some of these officers do need better training to the point where in some situations they do not need to use excessive force simply because if they could contain the situation early on, they would not have to result in pulling their firearm simply because they can't apprehend a suspect or something like that, right? And so one of the situations that I'll bring up right now is the what's the guy that got shot 7 times but he survived? Jacob Blake.
Oh, Jacob Blake. Yeah.
The Jacob Blake situation for me, I thought that what the officer did was definitely way too much. I didn't think that Jacob Blake deserved to be shot at all. What I did see is that 3 officers on the other side of the car could not contain a suspect. They allowed him to get up. They allowed him to walk on the other side of the car. They allowed him to open the door. And then now it's like, okay, since I can't do anything, you're more powerful than 3 officers. And we do not know how to set up a perimeter to get this guy from not to stop moving. I'm gonna now put 7 shots in his back, and could have potentially killed the guy. So I think that some of these officers do need to have better training in order to stop situations like that from happening. But I definitely do see what you're saying. So what is
Yeah.
your
Well,
position
let
on
me
the
hold on.
Jacob Blake part?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you were going to ask me about it, but yeah, I was going to touch on that. In the Jacob Blake situation, you had a guy who pretty much wrestled and was able to overpower, I think it was 2 or 3 police officers. He had a knife, and he's getting in the car, and there are children in the car. So, from what I heard, it wasn't his children; it was the girl, his ex-girlfriend's children that were in the car, and he was about to drive off in the car with the children. And this person is armed; he has a knife. So I believe that is the reason why the police officers did what they did. They were trying to, save a life. Um, I mean, I'm a big proponent of you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, right? So,
Wait,
so
but
I'm not about to cry for this
do you think
dude.
they should have shot him 7 times though? You think they should have shot him
Well,
7 times?
well, a police officer is trained to shoot until the threat is gone, right? So whatever it takes to get the threat, to neutralize the threat, that's just what they are trained to do. Police officers are not really trained to immobilize someone with a gun. That's why they have tasers. Tasers are what they use to immobilize someone. But when they pull their service weapon out, they're not shooting for the leg. They're not shooting for the arm. They're not shooting for the hand that has the knife in it, so he'll drop the knife. Like, they're not doing that. They're shooting to neutralize a threat. And I've seen situations where, I don't know if you've seen this video, but there was a suspect, and he had a knife, and a police officer fired upon him, and he didn't kill him. Right? He was shot, but he didn't kill him. So the guy gets up with his knife and slits the other police officer's throat. Right? Because his shots weren't enough to kill the guy. So I just want to kind of put that in perspective when police say, well, or when people say, well, he shouldn't have shot him that many times. Like, those are the situations that can happen if you don't do that, because this person may be able to get up and then harm somebody else. They already know this person is a threat. So you don't know what he's going to do. So
Right.
we
And
need to
see,
train.
my take on that, right, is everything that happened prior is what I'm talking about. Everything that happened prior. When you see the other footage, right, you got these 3 officers. That man should have never been able to get up off the ground after that.
Well,
And
I'm all for police officers getting in better shape. Okay, taking
I see.
classes.
I'm glad we can agree on that, because
I'm all for that, because when I see the ones with the big belly, I'm like, who you about to run down?
right. And see that is the problem. When they are not in shape, when they are not trained to apprehend a suspect, especially when the guy is already on the ground. Jacob Blake was already on the ground. Officers were wrestling with him, and there was 3 officers right there. He should have never been able to get up off the ground. Once he started resisting, they should have just been like, all right, you know what? No. You know how they do. They gonna get on you, lay on you, do whatever they can to keep you on the ground. The fact that he got up led to this entire situation, So I look at everything that happened before, because because an officer is out of shape and can't apprehend you doesn't mean that he's now able to go and pull his gun out and shoot you because he can't.
Well, that's not the cause and effect of what happened. What happened, the reason he was shot is because he had a knife and he was going into the car with the children about to drive off. I think that's why he was shot, instead of
you really think he was gonna go into high speed with his kids? Come on, man.
He could have. Dude wasn't in his right mind. Dude, you got to think of what kind of mind state does somebody have to be in to resist arrest like that, to fight 3 police officers. That person is not stable. So we don't know what that person is capable of.
What about this? He said that he wasn't getting in the car to drive off. He said he was getting in the car to check on his kids because he was just tussling with the officers and he heard his kids crying in the car.
Do you think that's the proper time to do that, though? Like, you need to get arrested.
I don't.
Like, have somebody else do that.
He should have went. I think he should have stayed on the ground. I don't think he should have got up. I don't think he should have grabbed the knife off the ground, walked away. I don't think he should have did none of that.
But see, that's the problem that, and the reason that we keep seeing more and more of these situations, because instead of talking about, well, why are we resisting arrest so much? Like, why don't we just, hey, you were doing wrong. Let them put the handcuffs on and take you to jail. You'll iron it out when you go to court. This is not the time for you to try to hold court in the street. Like, let them do what they got to do. Like, there should be more prominent black figures coming out and say, hey, let's not put these cops in situations where we could be shot. Like, I don't want to see another brother or sister get shot dead in the street. Let's not put cops in these situations. Let's just not resist. Let's just let them put the handcuffs on. We'll take care. Like, we'll let you know about lawyers in your area and stuff like that that'll help you out. But let's not take it there, okay? Like, we need to have more prominent black figures talking like that. But instead, we keep having people talking about, yeah, they should have never did that. The cop was wrong. The cop was wrong. The cop was wrong. And when we keep saying the cop is wrong, we're not learning anything. We're not learning anything from these situations. There's a lot of black people that could learn something from these situations that could end up saving their lives. But instead, we want to play victim, and we want to keep trying to demonize these people because our politicians, Democrat politicians, like to push this narrative because it gets them votes.
Perfect. And I'm glad that you ended that statement with that, playing the victim. So now, a lot of the people that have that don't like the content that you push out, right? I'm gonna give you 2 points. The first point is they say that you are pushing the white people's agenda. Whether you know it or not, you are giving off a narrative that black people are bad, even though you're trying to show the other side of what you're trying to show, right? And I know what you're doing, but on the outside looking in, people who can't see what you're doing, they think that you are also confirming that, yes, black people do this, black people do that, right? And also victim, right? And then you say they're playing the victim. Okay, and so in the category of people growing up in the hood and not having an opportunity, quote unquote, not having an opportunity to get out and being subject to getting arrested by the police or going to jail or having a charge, some people would say, why would you say that they are playing the victim when they experience some of these things? So let's tackle the first point. You are pushing the white people's agenda. This is what they say about you.
Well, I don't know what the white people's agenda is. I don't believe that all white people got together and said we're going to demonize black people. I don't think that the majority of white people actually feel a negative way about white people. I think that is something that is a narrative that's being pushed. I believe that's something that is trying to instill fear into the black community. Fear of this racist white boogeyman that's lurking around every corner. Like, I just don't believe that that's really going on. So what all I'm doing is
what I meant by that is some will say that you posting majority crimes committed by black people towards white people is also pushing their narrative that they're trying to push to show that black people, even though they are doing both sides, right? Some media companies will bank on the fact that, hey, a white person did something to a black person, but there still is a narrative out there that black people are criminals. And so when they see your page, what do you say to the people that say, okay, well, the content on your page is making black people look bad still?
Right. And what I was saying was, I don't believe that there's this overarching narrative about black people being criminals. I believe the majority of white people don't see it that way. Of course, there are a few white people out there that may still be on the white supremacist agenda, and they may still push white supremacy, but that's a real small segment of our population. And I think that some white people who talk about this stuff, they talk about the same thing I do, I don't think they're talking about it from a standpoint of I hate white people. I mean, I hate black people. I think they're talking about it from a standpoint of, well, the media and everyone's demonizing us, so we're trying to let people know, hey, it's not us. Look at what else is going on. And when you look at places like the Shade Room and Baller Alert and some of these other platforms on Instagram that are pretty liberal, they're talking about the same stories that I'm talking about. If you go down the list, and they're liberal, they're for black people. They're mentioning the same stories about black people that I am, and the majority of their stories where they're talking about criminal activity involve black people. So I just don't understand why I'm the one who's singled out for doing what I do. I'm just trying to let people know that there's another side to the story. Let people know that the media is lying to them, um, so people can wake up and see what's really going on. I'm definitely for black people. People will say that, well, since I talk about these stories, since I mention what's going on in the black community, or why don't I talk about what's going on in the white community? Why don't I talk about white people? I'm black. So
Mm,
since I'm black, I want to talk about things that I believe will wake more black people up, because that's what I would like to see in the near future, for us not to be beholden to one political party who's not doing anything for us. Elections are very, very important. And for us to continue to vote Democrat when Democrats do nothing for us, their policies hurt us. We've been in the same position. We've been talking about oppression. We've been talking about the state of the black community, but we still continue to vote for the same people. Like,
mm,
that hurts. That hurts my heart. Like, I get really passionate about this and emotional about this stuff, because that really hurts my heart when I see, they say when you do something, the same thing over and over again, and you're expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. So I believe, the black community has pretty much gone insane with a lot of what they're doing. Like, we can't keep doing the same thing. We can't keep running around in circles. We can't keep having the
and
same
and
vicious
and that's
cycle.
gonna transfer over into the next question. So let me just
Yeah.
ask it really quick before you go into that.
Mm-hmm.
The second question, the second part to that question was black people in the hood claiming victim. So
Mm-hmm.
black people victimizing themselves for not being able to maneuver outside of the area that they were born in, and being
Right.
subject to arrest, charges, and pretty much some of the negative nature that is built around their community when it comes down to killings, murders, robberies, drugs, and stuff like that. So what do you have to say to that?
Well, we got to talk about, accountability. We have to talk about the fact that we are doing this to each other. No one's doing this to us. We are putting ourselves in these bad situations. When you look at, like I talked about, the vicious cycles that we see, where, I used to date a lot of women when I was out there, and the majority of the black women that I dated, and I think I dated mostly black women. So people would probably think, oh, since you do what you do, you probably date white women. No, my wife is black, and all my life I dated majority black women. So I can
Right,
I can
right.
give a definite perspective about black women. And the majority of women that I dated where I'm from, they came from single parent households, and then they ended up becoming a single parent. So that's just the vicious cycle that we can. The single motherhood rate is like 70% in the black community, and we just continue to add to it. We're not talking about things that are going to improve that, because a lot of the things that we see come from a lack of fathers in the home. So if we're talking about the murder rate, we're talking about the poverty rate, we're talking about all these things that black people claim white people are doing to us. No, we're doing it to ourselves, because we put ourselves in situations where there's only one woman running the household with like two, three, four, or five kids. So that's an automatic um, ticket to poverty, especially when you live in these neighborhoods. It only takes one person to break the cycle in the family. A parent household can decide, okay, I don't want to live like this. I don't want my kids to live like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to start a business, or whatever I need to do to get out of this situation. I'm going to go move to another state just to get out of the hood and just start life there, because I don't want to end up in this situation, and I don't want future generations to end up in this situation. Like, that's all it takes. It takes one person to build generational wealth for an entire family. And if we can stop complaining about racism and what white people are doing to us, then we can achieve and attain everything that we think we can.
Mm. And here's the grand question, man. I know you get this a lot. So how do you feel about people? Because a lot of people will hear what you're saying right now and say, man, this dude is an Uncle Tom. What
Mm-hmm.
do you feel? How do you feel about people calling you that? I've seen people call you that all the time, and I don't agree with it. But what do you feel about that?
Wait, hang on. Let me get a different charger because this phone is about to die.
All right, cool. Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. So what do I say to people who call me Uncle Tom? Is that
Yeah.
the question? Well, I say, have you read the book? Because the the definition of Uncle Tom, or the person who Uncle Tom was not this person who tap danced for the white man. Uncle Tom was a slave who actually tried to help other slaves get free. And if that's what you, I mean, if that's the definition of a real definition of Uncle Tom, yes, I am Uncle Tom, because I believe that a lot of black people have become enslaved to the media agenda, have become enslaved to the Democrat Party, have become enslaved to a victim mentality. So I'm trying to free those people. And another thing that people don't understand about Uncle Tom is that the book was written by an abolitionist. So for the people who don't know what an abolitionist is an abolitionist is someone who's trying to free slaves. It was a white woman who was an abolitionist who wanted to free slaves. So for
Mm.
someone to call me an Uncle Tom or any other black conservative an Uncle Tom, it's really dumb, because that means they don't know what an Uncle Tom really is.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And okay, so now I came across a post on your I came across a post on your Instagram where you talked about the Ahmaud Arbery case, and it had something to do with the sentencing. And so you
Mm-hmm.
don't agree with the sentencing that these men got. Can you explain that? I'll just read the first sentence. Well, first two sentences. It says, I don't believe that this is an appropriate punishment for what took place with Ahmaud Arbery. The McMichaels did not intend to kill Arbery. They intended to perform a citizen's arrest that went wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel, because they tried to perform a citizen's arrest and it went wrong, that they did not receive the correct punishment that they um,
Well,
got?
well, well, I mean, the thing about that case is you don't have two people who went out there to intentionally commit murder. Like, they didn't go out there to say, okay, we want to kill this guy. I think in their minds, they thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they wanted to go arrest him because this person has been kind of menacing in the neighborhood. They were involved with the police. Like, when the police went into the house to see who was in the house, like, one of the McMichaels was with the police officer with his gun. So they were involved with the police in trying to apprehend this person who was in this neighborhood, continuously going in this house. So if you have these people who are working with police to try to apprehend this person or try to see what was going on with this person,
Mm-hmm.
going out to try to perform a citizen's arrest on the same person that they were looking for in that house with the police, it's like they kind of threw them to the wolves, because they were trying to help. So I understand, if it was me, I wouldn't have done that. Like, I would have never done that. I would have said, okay, He's running down whatever street. Hey, y'all come get him. But this is a former police officer and then a former military police officer. The two son, I mean the son and the father, former police officer, former military police officer. So when you kind of have it in your mind, you've been trained to apprehend suspects. It's like maybe second nature to just go after the person, right? So, and that's why I said the sentencing wasn't fair, because you're giving these people life in prison without parole, the same
Mm.
sentence you would give somebody who killed 5 children for no reason. So I think you gotta kind of put a distinction there between what they did and some of these vicious murderers, vicious serial killers that'll get the same sentence they did.
Right. And I think I'm completely on the other side of the fence when it comes down to this, because my opinion was they definitely should have minded their business. Like, I understand that these guys may have had a background, but that still doesn't give you the right to take matters into your own hands, because at the end of the day, even if they didn't have the intentions to kill somebody, they actually killed somebody. And so I think all of that being wrapped up into one, I think when we look at it, it's like, okay, you guys should have just minded your own business. You shouldn't have done that. And if you did want to try to apprehend him and he was not, complying with you, who are you? You're not the police. So even if he is not complying with you and he seems to be moving away from you and not listening to your commands, he doesn't really have to, because you're also another citizen. You're not a law. You're not the law. So he does not. They don't have to listen. Well, Ahmaud Arbery did not have to listen to these men. So if he was actually moving away from them and not doing what they were asking him to do, so be it. Go home, call the police, say, hey, we got a guy over here, and then let the police handle it. But what I see is they tried to take matters into their own hands and ended up killing this guy. And so I personally think on this case, even though I do agree with you on some other cases, on this case, I personally think that these guys got exactly what they deserved. What do you think about
So,
that?
well, when you look at the totality of the situation, it's not like they came out and just fight him. Ahmaud Arbery comes around the truck and then starts to fight Travis McMichael for the gun. And
Right.
that added a different layer to it. Now, if they would have just shot him, if when he was standing 5 feet away, that's a different case. Like, absolutely, I would be on the side to say, yeah, they shouldn't have shot him. They should be held responsible. They should go to jail for murder, whatever. But since he came around a truck and then starts to fight somebody for the gun, you're putting Travis McMichael in a situation where now he has to defend himself. Now, if the guy would have just kind of ran the other way or just stood there, not done anything, okay, what do you want? What's going on? Who are you? Let me call somebody, whatever, then I think the situation would have turned out a lot differently. He would be alive today. But I think based on his own actions, it escalated the situation. Now, mind you, like I said, I wouldn't do that. If I was in that situation, I wouldn't have done that. But I believe that they were placed into the situation by local police. They were placed into the situation by the homeowner who had texted, but after Ahmaud Arbery got shot, the homeowner tried to say, "Oh no, I didn't do anything. I'm not involved in this. No, no, no." Like, he tried to back out of it instead of standing his ground and say, "Yeah, I did. I did have somebody that was in my house that I was concerned about. I did call the police about this." Like, he didn't do that. He tried to throw a stone and hide his hand instead of just coming forward and saying what really happened. But like I said, I think the fact that Ahmaud Arbery came around the truck and started wrestling for the gun, I think that's what added a different layer to it, where it's like, how can you say this is murder, in my opinion? But I know the
Okay.
law. But I'll say this. I know the law is the law. The way they were charged, I believe the jury had no choice but to convict him. But to convict him, right? The law that was given to them, the charges, I should say, the charges that they were given, the jury had no option but to convict them, because the judge basically said, this is the instruction that I'm going to give you, and with those instructions, it kind of tied their hand where they had to convict them. Now, if the judge had given them different instructions, because If
Right.
they believe that this
I gotta get
person
this.
was
I gotta get this charger. Keep
uh,
going though. I'm listening.
okay. Well, I was gonna say if they believed that this person was committing a felony, then they were justified in going after him. So the case basically boiled down to, was this person committing a felony? And the jury didn't think that he was committing a felony, so therefore they had to convict them of murder. And that's just what it was. Like it was that simple. Because burglary is a felony. But if they didn't believe that this person was committing burglary, they didn't believe Ahmaud Arbery was committing burglary, then they didn't convict him. When it could be seen as burglary because he was in a house looking around. They don't know if he could have stole something, like, but you know, you're in a house, you're somewhere where you shouldn't be, so that's why. Shauna ran out the room. What's going on, everybody? I appreciate y'all being here. This is a great discussion. You know what's cool about this discussion? So Sean is talking about some of the posts that I posted recently, and that's the way we met. That's the way we connected, is because Sean disagreed with everything I used to say. He had me on. He just how wrong I was and what is wrong with me for thinking that way. But now it's totally different. Like, me and him are cool. We're friends, so we can have these conversations.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's exactly how it happened, man. I actually, reached out to him to have a conversation about a bunch of just I think it was a police shooting or something that was going on, and we ended up having a conversation. And I actually agree with some of this, a lot of the stuff that he says. There are some things that we disagree on, like this case, but yeah, I actually, I do align with a lot of the things that he says. And so I definitely appreciate him for the work that he's doing. And I do see a lot of people attacking him and saying, saying a bunch of stuff that's realistically not true about this man. You know what I mean? Like, I've had really, really good conversations with him. And I do think he really means well. But sometimes you have to do things in this way to get people to understand the actual truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. And so, me and you have been talking for an hour. So I'm going to do maybe about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to allow people to ask questions for you. And you guys can put the question on the question thing. And somebody wants to join. I will only allow people who disagree with him to join. I don't want kind of like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So if you disagree with some of the things that he was saying, send me a request on the live. You guys have 20 minutes to conversate with Oliver, and I'll give you guys that time to do so. So paste questions in the comment section, and if anybody disagrees with him, you can definitely come into the live. But yeah, this was really a good conversation. Like I said, me and him has had plenty of conversations. I mean, we have conversations on the on this app called Clubhouse, and there are a lot of things that Oliver has said that has literally woke me up, and I had to really think about it, because I was one of those people that thought that according to the media, only black people were being shot by the police. Only, you know what I mean? It's just like, when I took a step back and realized, okay, hold on, I need to do my research. I need to figure out what actually is going on. I started to realize that it's not really as bad as the media tries to make it seem. And so he's absolutely right. So when you see some of these posts, and when you see the things that he's posting, he's actually doing it for a reason. He's not trying to tear down his own community. He's actually trying to wake up his community. And so with that being said, we have someone who wants to come on the live. Jazzy 2020, I'll bring you on, and I'll let you guys have a conversation.
Hi, I just want to know where you all went to college. You guys are both so smart.
I went to the University of New Orleans in New Orleans.
Nice.
Yeah, and I went to the Academy of Arts in San Francisco.
And how did you guys pay for your college? Because my kids have wicked student loans.
I think student loans is something you can't get away from.
Right? Right. Well, I appreciate you guys. We're Mexicans here, but hey, viva la raza, as I say.
All right,
Yeah,
all
man.
right.
So is there anything that you disagreed with that what he was saying, or?
I wanted to disagree. I tried, but I couldn't. It was hard. We got to look
Yeah.
after our families and set good examples, and just leave the right life and have some morals. And I always say raise your morals high, because they just go down from there.
Yep,
So,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
but I'm always looking after the Latinos, and there's always a disproportionate amount of the same activity. The reality is, though, you got to train them right, and
Yep. Take
don't break.
responsibility for your kids.
Yeah,
Take responsibility for your kids and their
that's right.
future.
Don't break the law.
Yep.
Thank you, you guys. I appreciate you telling me where you went to school, though, because I'm like, where did these guys go to school? I love it. Thank you so much.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Education is key, man. I
Get there.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right. So I got another person coming up.
I think you might have the camera down.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got another person coming up. But yeah, like I said, anybody in the audience, anybody that's listening, if you did disagree with anything that Oliver said, feel free to come up and have a conversation with him. We got about 15 more minutes, and we'll go ahead and close out, do some closing statements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees.
I think so.
You know how it was different before, right? We used to have a lot of people who disagreed.
Now, you know what? I think you're making an impact. That's why. You know what I mean?
I mean, I remember when your people used to come on, your friends used to come on, and I guess we got on Clubhouse, and we got, I even got cool with your friends, and I think they started seeing me in a different light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those conversations that we was having on that app, man, it was some good conversations, man. I mean, you got people that just for the love of them didn't want to see it. They always wanted to go straight back to the 50s and beyond. And through those conversations, it also woke me up as well, because it's like, I personally don't want to be stuck in that light. You know what I mean? I don't want to be caught up in that category of Black people that are so far gone that they can't even see the issues within their own community, our community. Right. You understand what I'm saying? And so I definitely see what you're saying, especially with those conversations, bro. And so, I mean, it is what it is. We just got to wake people up one by one. And this is the reason why I'm having a conversation with you now, and I'm going to save it and post it on my YouTube channel, because I think that this is what's needed. This type of conversation is definitely needed.
Right. Yeah, I see the question, Craig. I was about to get to it. So Craig Long had a question for you about the video that you posted. He's basically saying, I guess, it's promoting a bad image. So he wanted you to kind of comment on what you think about the female.
Which video?
The female, the last video, the one you did it on your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I have a past. I'm not scared of it. I can't run from it. I'm a videographer. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I shoot a lot of music videos. And so do I agree with a lot of the content that I shot? No, I don't. But at the end of the day, this is what I did to make some money. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm further stepping away. Actually, a year and a half ago, I posted a video. I posted a statement on my channel, and I said, I will no longer shoot a certain type of music video, especially when it came down to gang banging and stuff like that. And so people on my channel already know. When people call me, I'm telling them, look, I'm not going to the hood. I'm not doing this and that, and I'm not shooting this type of music video. So at the end of the day, I cannot remove this content, because this is content that people paid for. So the past is the past, and it's there, but I am moving forward from now on. You understand what I'm saying? So and also as well, this is also how I made a lot of my money and still make a lot of my money. So there are a specific type of music video that I will shoot, but I'm definitely not jumping straight into the ones where it's complete gang banging, I'm trying to kill my own brothers type of stuff. I'm not doing that no more. And I make that clear. I'm not getting in the middle of nobody's beef, and I'm not trying to be at the forefront of that, as far as putting out a visual for somebody who's living that lifestyle anymore. Now, do I discriminate against those people? No. But do I agree with their lifestyle? No. And they know that, and I make that very clear. I am not one of those people that is going to be involved in that with you. So yeah, I got to pass, and I can't delete that because this is something that people paid for. So I'm not, you know.
Yeah, I got to pass too. If y'all would have heard if y'all would hear some of the things I used to rap about, you'd be shocked. So, you know, I'm not here to say that I'm this perfect person that, you know, I never did anything wrong. Nah, that's far from the truth. So we all grow up, and I've seen this man grow up. Like, since I've known him, I've seen him grow up so much. Like, it's great to see that.
Definitely, man. I think the conversations with you, not even think, the conversations with you definitely helped me, because I was already at a point where it's like I slowly have to shave away this category of people that I am bringing around, and I cannot continue to put myself in a situation where I'm dealing with a certain type of people. Do some of those people still call me and try to get in some work? Yes, but do I act upon it? No, because I always tell them that there are certain situations that I don't want to put myself in or be involved in, and so there's a limit to what I am doing now, and so and eventually I'm just going to shave it off, period, and go a completely different route with media. But I definitely do agree, because I also talk about it as well. I talk about the things that Black people rap about. I talk about the things that Black people do in the community, drugs, you know, pimping and killing other people, and just advocating for that and making it seem like that stuff is cool. I've always talked against that stuff. So I definitely do agree. And when having these conversations, that's the only thing that I can think of, is because that is actually my past. But because it's my past, I am more qualified to actually talk about it. So yeah, I've actually been dead in the center of that type of stuff. So I can actually talk about it as well. I'm not one of those people that is talking about this and I've never lived that lifestyle or been around that lifestyle. So I think that is also a good advantage for me, because I've been around it before. You feel me? So
Yep. We need people that have been in it, that have done it, to talk to people that's doing it now and telling them, hey, there's another way. So they don't respect you if you don't know what they've been through. That's a big thing in the Black community. It's like, oh, well, you don't know what we've been through. That's why they try to discredit me by saying, oh, well, you must have grew up in a white neighborhood, or you must have a white wife or whatever. Or, you know, you can love whoever you want to love, Black, white, whatever. But people will try to discredit me by saying that, thinking that I don't have the same experiences that they do, and I actually do. I grew up in New Orleans. I grew up in Holly Grove. You know what I'm saying? Like gunshots, all that. My brother just got out of prison. He went to prison twice, so for drugs. So I've been around that. I've seen people who got murdered before. Like, I've been around all this stuff. So I've been there. You can't tell me, well, I lived this privileged life, so I can't talk about the struggles of Black people. No, I was in there, and I decided to make different choices.
Yep. And it's a struggle, because sometimes you got to make money. So you got to slowly figure out how to shave that down so you can make money. But at the end of the day, people got to realize that sometimes we got to eat and we got to live too at the end of the day. So even though a person might be behind some of the media, because you have white people that have big media companies, $10,000, $20,000 media projects that they get sent out to do, and they're shooting for these same exact people, but they don't get looked at like that. You know what I'm saying? And they just get looked at as, oh, they're just coming out and shooting a video. That's how I look at it, because I'm not really involved. I don't really want to be a part of that. But at the end of the day, sometimes we have to make money. They're going to shoot the videos anyway. But at the end of the day, I do agree on both sides that slowing down, being around all of that is definitely the best thing possible, because me as a Black person, I will get sucked into that way quicker than a white person would. I don't even think a white person would get sucked into it at all. But me being Black, somehow I am also attached to what's actually going on in the music video. And so this is the reason why, you know, I agree that eventually I definitely am going to need to 100% just push it all away, wipe it clean, and do something completely different. But it's a slow process, but I definitely made the move a year and a half ago, and I'm slowly starting to pick it up to the point where now I'm eventually doing something completely different outside of that. I'll still be doing
Right.
music, but it'll definitely be outside of that. So I'm glad that Craig asked that question because I've always been waiting to answer this question.
Yeah. Cool.
Perfect.
Cool, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Oliver. I appreciate that, man. I'll save this. This will be up on YouTube for both of us to share in about maybe 24 hours. I'll send you the link. Send me a picture of you so we can make a thumbnail, create it, and we'll definitely link up another time. Maybe stream on YouTube or something like that. Have more conversations about something else that pops up. But I appreciate you for coming out, man. And
right, man.
Thank you for having this conversation, man. It was really fruitful.
All right, man. Appreciate you too. Have a good night.
All right. All right. Peace.
Peace.